Hello to all my planner people, mamas, and entrepreneurs. My name is Sydney, and this is the Planning Mompreneur podcast. This is where I'll talk about all things planning related, mom life, and small business life. Most importantly, how I juggle it all. Hello, all my planner friends. My name is Sydney, and I am starting a podcast called The Planning Mompreneur. If you can guess or not, it's going to be about planning, being a mom, and also being an entrepreneur. You may find this helpful just with any questions you may have had being answered, or even if you are a fellow entrepreneur, or maybe someone who is ready to dive in and maybe start something, or if you're a mom just trying to juggle whatever it may be, kids, husband, work. Mostly right now, I am going to be talking about my business, how I started, why I continue to do this, and also just how I juggle everything. Really, planning is also one of my therapeutic aspects that I kind of have to use to stay organized, and obviously I'm not the best at it. If you've noticed, if you've been following me or kind of seeing what I post and things like that, I'm a very big scatterbrain, and I'm just trying to find ways to keep that at bay, if that makes sense. So I don't want to make this introductory podcast episode too long. I just wanted to say this is the first time I'm doing anything like this. I am not comfortable on camera. I'm not comfortable hearing my own voice. But I am also filming this just so I can utilize my YouTube channel. But mostly I really just wanted to do a voice podcast. So I might not always post a video depending how I feel that day, but I am going to be doing a weekly or bi-weekly audio podcast for sure. I'm going to try and do it weekly, but don't hold me to it. Life is busy, as I'm going to explain really soon, or probably in another episode. But this one is going to be going over my why. This is the first thing you kind of have to figure out before you start a business, and it's your reasoning for it. So my why was, I should just rewind and think and tell the story on how I started or why I got the idea. So my husband and I were just coming back from our wedding and honeymoon. It was 2 weeks long, and we were in the Dominican Republic. It was January of 2017. So on the plane ride home, I was bored, and my husband had a Surface Pro tablet, and we had chatted about it a little bit at our resort. But I was thinking, I'm spending all this money on planner stickers. Obviously, I loved the hobby. I loved to journal. I was a scrapbooker back then when I had time. And I was thinking, why can't I also do something like that? At the time, I was thinking it would be a great little bit of extra income to kind of offset our other income. We were both shift workers, and when you're young, you spend money. And I just wanted more of it to maybe be more free to do extra things or pay down bills, things like that. So I was thinking, why don't I start my own sticker shop? Especially because I was thinking it could be a way of, justifying planner item purchases because I was using money I was making from my sticker shop. So I thought about that. My husband was supportive. He actually bought me my first silhouette machine, and I did some research on paper and things like that. A little side note, everybody pretty much starts with online labels. So if you are wanting that little insight, if you didn't already know, which would be hard because I feel most shops share that, definitely check out online labels. But back to the main point was I was on the plane ride home, so I started doodling, and I came up with Macy. I had no idea why. I don't really care much about monkeys, but I met this really cute monkey in the Dominican. I have a picture with him, and I noticed at the time nobody else had a character sticker that was a monkey. That was a big thing back then, was character stickers, and I didn't want to do a character that somebody else had already done, so I decided on Macy the monkey. I was not great at it, to be honest. The drawing on the tablet at the time was very different than drawing on paper, especially the Surface Pro. It was a really old one. The stylus wasn't as great. comparing it to an iPad Pro, it's just poop, at least to me. That is like my biggest swear words now. You can tell I have kids. I should try not to say that, but that's how I would go back and explain it when, if somebody asked, would you recommend it? No, I would not. Anyway, so my why was basically to have extra income. I was working straight night shifts at the hospital. I was already so tired, I didn't really want to do overtime work. I also wanted to enjoy life a little bit. So yeah, that was kind of like how Planner Monkey Co. came about. That was how I thought it up. It was just a little idea, and I'm so glad I did. I just want to mention your why will change as time goes on. Obviously, mine has. Fast forward to September of that year, I got pregnant with our son Jackson, and my why then became, okay, how do I supplement income when I can't work full-time anymore after my son was born? Because my husband's shift work, you can't really take 2 shift workers unless you do daycare. But I didn't want to do that. I thought they're too young at 1 year old. Side note, here in Canada, you get a 12-month maternity leave. You can even extend it to 18 months if you want, but the money is so little that it wasn't worth it. So that's a whole nother point. But my why became to be home with my son. At the time, I thought I'd go back part-time while also running PMC, but it didn't end up working out that way. I kind of did casual for a bit. I forget how long, probably not very long, but I decided to work on the business. It was hard at first. I actually ended my maternity leave early. My cats are fighting, if you hear any weird cat sounds. I ended up ending my maternity leave early at 8 months to reopen the shop, because in Canada we have these rules about how much income you can actually make while on maternity leave because you're on EI. And it's so little, the paperwork was not worth it. Oh, I'm trying to get the cats to stop making noises. I'm hoping it's not ruining my podcast. Anyways, my why changed. It changed then, and then I also, once he was born, it became to help provide for the little family I had. We wanted to move to a bigger place, things like that. So I kept growing it, and of course, my why changed even now. Now I am actually providing more than I ever thought I would. My husband was able to go back to school and do an apprenticeship. So yeah, now the stress level has changed though. So that's a whole nother podcast. I run off of stress. So it's not glamorous. I just want to put that out there. I work as much as I can when I can around everybody else, and it is the most stressful thing I've ever encountered. I always say sometimes I wish I could just clock in, clock out somewhere, come home, eat dinner, not think about work. But it's not something we can do. And I know like even a normal profession like teachers, since my son's in kindergarten now, like she sends her emails every night at like 8:30 p.m. So they're kind of similar. Like you don't stop thinking about work. They have to lesson plan, things like that. That was just a whole tangent, and I will do lots of those. You will notice for sure. So I guess the only other thing I really want to chat about in this podcast would just be how I started. The things I needed. So you need a computer. You need a printer, you need paper, you need a sticker cutting machine. If you're going to draw, you need a drawing tablet of some sort. Again, I recommend the iPads. Back then, the only one you could draw on was the iPad Pro, which was very expensive. But now you can draw on a mini, a regular iPad. There's so many more options for drawing. You don't need the Pro model, though I did upgrade like a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I still bought a Pro. I'm just used to it. I love the big screen. I also have a mini for like traveling, or my kids can use it, so it's like a dual purpose. Definitely that. You need ink, you need mailing supplies, you need all of that. Anything you can think of. I'm gonna make like a list somewhere, and I will share it maybe on my website of like things to start up with, Or if you have any questions, you can always DM me on Instagram at PlannerMonkeyCo. I'll be happy to answer them as long as I have the time to do so. I don't mind. It might just take me a little while, so don't feel bad if I don't reply within 1 to 2 days. So yeah, I'm really excited for this podcast. I have so many different topics to brush up on. I posted a question on Instagram stories like a month ago asking what kind of topics you guys wanted me to chat about, what things you wanted to learn, questions for me, things like that. So I have lots and lots of ideas. I hope you enjoyed this introductory episode, and I will be back next week, hopefully. See ya!